Grand Admiral Vexthul stood on the bridge of his massive warship, the Cosmic Devastator. Through the huge window, he could see his fleet spread across space like glowing stars. 1,200 ships floated in perfect formation, each one bigger than a city and armed with weapons that could destroy planets. The Zephyrian hegemony had built the most powerful fleet in the galaxy, and Vexthul commanded it all. His blue skin gleamed under the bridge lights as he watched his ships move through space. Each vessel was a masterpiece of technology. Their hulls were made from quantum-forged metals that could bend light around them. Their weapons fired beams of pure energy that could slice through asteroids like paper. Their shields could stop anything the galaxy could throw at them. "Admiral," called his tactical officer, Kexmol, from across the bridge, "our scout ships have returned from the outer rim." Vexthul turned away from the window. His forearms moved gracefully as he walked to the command center. The Zephyrians were tall and elegant, with smooth blue skin and large black eyes. They had conquered 47 star systems in the past 50 years. No one had ever defeated them in battle. "What did the scouts find?" Vexthul asked. Kexmol's fingers danced over his control panel. A holographic display appeared in the air, showing a small yellow star with several planets orbiting around it. A primitive system called Sol, Admiral. The third planet shows signs of intelligent life. "How primitive?" Vexthul's voice carried a hint of amusement. Every species they had encountered fell into two categories: those advanced enough to put up a brief fight and those so primitive they surrendered immediately. "Very primitive, sir. They call themselves humans. Our analysis shows they still use chemical rockets to reach their moon. Some of their ships use basic fusion drives, but nothing close to our technology. They have not even left their own star system." Other officers on the bridge began to laugh. Chemical rockets? In an age of quantum drives and space-folding engines? It was like discovering a civilization that still used stone tools. Vexthul studied the holographic display. The planet looked blue and green, covered with water and land masses. Cities dotted the continents, connected by primitive roads and airways. Their largest ships were tiny metal cylinders that crawled through space at laughably slow speeds. "What is their military strength?" he asked. "Minimal, Admiral. They have perhaps 200 small warships scattered throughout their system. Most are patrol vessels designed for asteroid mining or space construction. Their weapons appear to be simple: kinetic projectiles and basic energy beams. Nothing that could penetrate even our oldest shield technology." Vexthul nodded slowly. Another easy conquest. The hegemony needed new worlds to supply their growing empire, and this Sol system had several planets that could be useful. The primitive humans would make adequate workers once they were properly trained. "Sir," another officer spoke up, "should we deploy the full fleet for this operation?" The Admiral's mandibles clicked together in what passed for Zephyrian laughter. "The full fleet? Against primitives who still use chemical propulsion? That would be like using a plasma cannon to kill an insect." He walked back to the viewing window and gazed out at his mighty armada. Each ship represented decades of research and development. Their quantum computers could calculate faster than entire human civilizations could think. Their artificial intelligence systems could control thousands of weapons simultaneously. Their energy shields could absorb the full power of a star. "Deploy the third squadron," Vexthul decided. 100 ships should be more than sufficient to handle this situation. "Only 100 ships, sir?" Kexmol sounded surprised. "These humans are barely out of their Stone Age, tactically speaking. 100 of our vessels could conquer 100 primitive worlds like theirs. I will not waste the full might of the Eternal Dominion on such a minor operation." The bridge crew began implementing his orders. Throughout the fleet, 100 ships detached themselves from the main formation. These were still formidable warships, each one capable of destroying everything the humans had built in space within hours. As the squadron prepared to depart for the Sol system, Vexthul felt a familiar satisfaction. Another world would bow before the might of the Zephyrian hegemony. Another species would learn that resistance was futile against superior technology and firepower. "Admiral," Kexmol reported, The third squadron is ready to depart. Estimated travel time to the Sol system is 6 standard days. Excellent. Send a message to the humans before the attack begins. Give them the standard surrender terms. If they submit immediately, we will be merciful. If they resist, Bexthel's black eyes gleamed coldly. Well, their primitive weapons will provide our crews with some amusing target practice. The squadron jumped into hyperspace, leaving trails of twisted light behind them. Bexthel returned to his duties, already planning how to incorporate the Sol system into the hegemony's growing empire. He never imagined that among those primitive humans was an admiral named Park Hyunwoo, who was about to prove that sometimes the oldest weapons were the most dangerous ones of all. The galaxy's strongest fleet was about to meet Earth's oldest ship, and nothing would ever be the same. Admiral Park Hyunwoo stood in the command center deep beneath Seoul, staring at the massive screen that showed their solar system. Red dots marked the positions of alien ships moving toward Earth like a deadly swarm. His hands gripped the metal railing as he watched humanity's worst nightmare become real. "How long do we have?" he asked Captain Lee So-young, his tactical officer. She was one of the best strategists in the fleet, but even she looked worried. 6 hours until they reach Mars orbit, sir. 12 hours until they reach Earth, she replied, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. Around them, dozens of officers worked at their stations, coordinating Earth's defenses. Emergency lights flashed red as alarms sounded throughout the underground facility. Every military base on Earth and in space was preparing for the fight of humanity's life. Lieutenant Kim Tae-jin looked up from his communications console. "Admiral, we're receiving reports from our deep space monitoring stations. The alien fleet has 100 ships, each one larger than our biggest orbital station." Hyunwoo closed his eyes for a moment. Earth's entire space fleet consisted of 200 ships, but most were small patrol vessels or cargo haulers. Their biggest warships were fusion-powered cruisers that could barely leave the solar system. Against technology that could cross the galaxy, they might as well be throwing rocks. "What about the orbital defense platforms?" he asked. Chief Engineer Choi Min-ho pulled up the defense grid on his screen. "We have 47 platforms around Earth, sir. Each one has plasma cannons and missile launchers. But based on what our sensors are showing," he paused, running calculations, "the alien ship's energy signatures are beyond anything we've ever seen. Our weapons might not even scratch their shields." The room fell silent except for the humming of computers and the distant sound of alarms. Every person in the command center knew they were facing impossible odds. Earth's most advanced weapons were like toys compared to what was coming for them. "Sir," So-young said quietly, "we could try to negotiate. Maybe they just want resources, not a war." Hyunwoo shook his head. "Our linguists decoded part of their transmission. They're demanding complete surrender. They want us to become their slaves." He turned to face his officers. "That's not going to happen." But what could they do? Their fusion drives were slow and unreliable. Their plasma weapons were primitive compared to alien technology. Their shields were barely strong enough to stop asteroids, let alone weapons, that could destroy planets. Tae-jin suddenly looked up from his computer. "Admiral, I've been going through our historical files, looking for anything that might help. I found something strange in the museum records." "Museum records?" Hyunwoo asked. "Yes, sir. The Smithsonian Space Museum has several old ships in orbit. Most are just displays, but there's one." Tae-jin's fingers moved quickly over his keyboard. "The UESS Baekdu. It was humanity's first real starship, built in 2157. On the main screen, an image appeared of a blocky, ugly-looking ship. It was nothing like the sleek fusion cruisers of Earth's current fleet. The Baekdu looked more like a flying brick than a starship. Its hull was thick steel plates welded together. Its engines were massive nuclear pulse drives that used controlled atomic explosions for power." "That old thing?" Min-ho laughed nervously. "It's 400 years old. It belongs in a museum." "It is in a museum," Tae-jin replied. "But according to these files, it's still functional. They keep it maintained for historical demonstrations." Hyunwoo studied the ancient ship's specifications. The Baekdu had been built for humanity's first attempt to reach another star. It was designed to survive anything space could throw at it for decades of travel. Its hull was thick enough to stop cosmic radiation. Its systems were simple and reliable, built to work even if everything else failed. What kind of weapons does it have? So Young asked. That's the interesting part, Taejin said. It was built before we had plasma cannons or energy shields. Its weapons are nuclear missiles and kinetic projectiles. Very primitive by today's standards. And very primitive by alien standards too, Minho added. Sir, you're not seriously thinking... Hyunwoo was already moving toward the communications console. Get me the museum director. I want that ship ready for service in 4 hours. Admiral, So Young protested. That ship is ancient. Its technology is obsolete. What can it do against alien warships that our best vessels can't? Hyunwoo paused, remembering something his grandfather had told him about the old days of space exploration. Sometimes the oldest tools are the most reliable ones. Modern ships are built to fight modern enemies. But what if the enemy doesn't know how to fight something old? He looked around at his officers. They thought he was crazy, and maybe he was. But Earth's most advanced fleet wouldn't last 10 minutes against the aliens. Their only chance was to try something completely unexpected. The Baekdu was built to survive a journey to the stars using nothing but steel, nuclear power, and human determination, he said. Let's see if 400 years of human engineering can surprise some aliens who think they know everything about warfare. As alarms continued to sound throughout the command center, Hyunwoo began planning humanity's most desperate gamble with their oldest weapon. The UESS Baekdu drifted through space like a ghost from humanity's past. Chief Engineer Choi Min-ho floated through the ship's narrow corridors, checking systems that hadn't been used for real spaceflight in decades. The museum had kept everything working, but taking this ancient vessel into battle felt like madness. Nuclear. Pulse drive is online, he reported into his communicator. Though I wouldn't trust it for more than a few hours of hard acceleration. Admiral Park Hyunwoo sat in the old command chair, its cracked leather creaking under his weight. The bridge looked nothing like modern starships. Instead of holographic displays and smooth touchscreens, he saw mechanical switches, analog gauges, and actual buttons that clicked when pressed. Everything was built from steel and copper, designed to work even if the ship's computers failed completely. This feels like flying a museum piece, muttered Navigation Officer Yoon Seo-jin as she studied the old-fashioned star charts. Half. These systems don't even have digital displays. That might be exactly what we need, Hyunwoo replied, running his hands over the ancient controls. Each switch had a specific purpose, labeled with simple words that any engineer could understand. No fancy artificial intelligence, no quantum processors that could be hacked or confused by alien technology. Communications Officer Han Ji-woo looked up from his station. Sir, I'm having trouble with the radio systems. They're so old that our modern equipment can barely interface with them. Can you make them work? Hyunwoo asked. Yes, sir, but we'll be limited to basic audio transmission. No video, no data streaming, just simple voice communication. Perfect, Hyunwoo thought. The aliens would expect sophisticated communication systems they could jam or intercept. They probably had no idea how to deal with primitive radio waves. The Baekdu slowly turned toward the outer solar system, where Earth sensors had detected the approaching alien fleet. The ship's movement was clumsy compared to modern vessels, but it was steady and reliable. The nuclear pulse drive fired in controlled bursts, each atomic explosion pushing the ship forward like a giant hammer hitting an anvil. Engine room 2. Bridge. Minho's voice crackled over the intercom. We're running at 60% power. The old girl wasn't designed for quick maneuvers, but she'll get us where we need to go. As they moved toward the enemy, Hyunwoo studied the ship's weapon systems. The Baekdu carried 12 nuclear missiles, each one armed with a warhead that could level a city. By modern standards, they were crude and slow, but they packed enormous destructive power. The ship also had 6 kinetic cannons that fired solid metal projectiles at incredible speeds. Sir, Seo-jin reported, the alien fleet is maintaining standard formation. Their sensors seem to be having trouble detecting us. Hyunwoo smiled. The Baekdu's hull was covered with a primitive stealth coating designed to hide the ship from asteroids and space debris during long voyages. It wasn't sophisticated enough to fool modern military sensors, but it might confuse alien technology that was looking for advanced human ships. They're probably wondering why their computers can't get a clear reading on us, he said. Their sensors are calibrated to detect fusion drives and quantum signatures. They don't know what to make of. A nuclear pulse drive. The ship shuddered as another atomic explosion fired the engines. Through the thick steel hull, they could feel each pulse like a heartbeat. It was primitive and violent, but it worked exactly as designed 4 centuries ago. Weapons status? Hyun-woo asked. Weapons Officer Park Dong-min checked his ancient targeting. Systems. All missiles are armed and ready, sir. Kinetic cannons are loaded with tungsten slugs, but sir, these weapons are designed to fight other ships from our era. I don't know how effective they'll be against alien shields. Maybe that's our advantage, Hyun-woo replied. Their shields are probably designed to stop energy weapons and modern missiles. They might not know how to handle good old-fashioned nuclear explosions and solid metal projectiles. On the main screen, which was actually a thick piece of reinforced glass rather than a holographic display, they could see the alien fleet growing larger. The enemy ships were sleek and beautiful, their hulls glowing with energy fields and advanced technology. Compared to them, the Baekdu looked like a chunk of scrap metal. Sir, Ji-woo said nervously, I'm picking up alien communications. They seem to be laughing about something. Probably about us, Hyun-woo said. Let them laugh. They're about to learn that sometimes the oldest weapons are the most dangerous ones. The Baekdu continued its slow approach toward the alien fleet. Its systems hummed and clicked with mechanical precision. No artificial intelligence guided its path. No quantum computers calculated its trajectory. Everything was controlled by human hands and human minds, using technology that had been proven reliable for 400 years. Distance to enemy fleet? Hyun-woo asked. 2 million kilometers in closing, Seo-jin reported. They still don't seem to consider us a serious threat. Through the bridge windows, Hyun-woo could see stars wheeling slowly past as the ship adjusted its course. Somewhere ahead waited the most advanced fleet in the galaxy. Confident in their superior technology and firepower, they had no idea they were about to face humanity's most primitive starship, crewed by people who understood that sometimes the simplest solutions were the most effective ones. The battle was about to begin, and Earth's oldest ship was ready to show the galaxy what human engineering could accomplish. Grand Admiral Vexthol stared at his tactical display with growing confusion. His sensors showed a single human ship approaching his fleet, but the readings made no sense. The vessel appeared to be made of primitive metals and powered by some kind of explosive propulsion system. What is that pathetic construction? He asked his weapons officer. It looks like something from their Stone Age. The alien officer studied his instruments carefully. Sir, our computers are having difficulty analyzing the ship. Its technology appears to be several centuries old. The hull is made of simple steel. Alloy and the propulsion system uses controlled nuclear explosions. Vexthol's mandibles clicked in amusement. Nuclear explosions for propulsion? His own ships used quantum singularities that could fold space itself. This human vessel was like a wooden cart trying to race against a starfighter. Sir, his tactical officer reported, the human ship is still approaching. Should we destroy it? No, Vexthol decided. Disable it instead. I want to capture this primitive vessel for study. It will make an interesting addition to our Museum of Conquered Species. On the bridge of the Baekdu, Admiral Park Hyun-woo watched the alien fleet through his thick glass viewport. The enemy ships were beautiful and terrifying, their hulls shimmering with energy fields. Each one was 10 times larger than his ancient vessel, and armed with weapons he couldn't even understand. They're not taking us seriously, reported communications. Officer Han Ji-woo. I'm intercepting their transmissions. They think we're some kind of museum piece. Good, Hyun-woo replied. Let them underestimate us. Chief Minho, prepare the pulse drive for maximum acceleration. In the engine room, Choi Minho's hands flew over the ancient controls. The nuclear pulse drive had been designed for slow, steady travel between stars, but it could also be pushed to dangerous limits for short periods. Each atomic explosion was like lightning trapped in metal waiting to be unleashed. Drive ready, Admiral, Minho reported, but I can't guarantee the hull will hold together if we push too hard. We'll risk it, Hyun-woo said. All hands prepare for combat acceleration. The first alien energy beam struck the Baekdu's hull with enough power to vaporize a modern cruiser. The crew braced for destruction, but the ancient steel plating held firm. The beam scattered harmlessly across the ship's surface, designed to withstand cosmic radiation and micrometeorite impacts for centuries of deep space travel. Impossible, Vexthal muttered, staring at his displays. Increase power to maximum. More energy beams lanced out from the alien fleet, striking the human ship again and again. But the primitive vessel continued its approach, its thick armor absorbing punishment that would have destroyed any modern warship. The aliens had built their weapons to penetrate advanced shields and energy fields, not solid steel plates welded together by human hands. Now! Hyun-woo shouted. The Baekdu suddenly exploded forward as its nuclear pulse drive fired at maximum power. Atomic explosions hammered against the ship's pusher plate, accelerating the vessel like a bullet fired from a cannon. The alien fleet, expecting slow human technology, had no time to react. The ancient ship rammed straight through the alien formation, its steel hull crushing delicate sensor arrays and communication equipment. As it passed each enemy vessel, the Baekdu fired its nuclear missiles at point-blank range. Their shields can't handle this, Weapons Officer Park Dong-min shouted with excitement. The nuclear explosions are overloading their energy fields. The alien ships had been designed to fight other advanced civilizations using energy weapons and sophisticated missiles. Their shields could bend light and absorb plasma beams, but they couldn't handle the raw, brutal force of nuclear fire and solid metal projectiles. Vexthal watched in horror as his beautiful ships were battered by primitive human weapons. The Baekdu moved through his fleet like a wild animal, using ramming attacks and close-range explosions that his tactical computers couldn't predict or counter. How are they doing this? He demanded. Their technology is centuries behind ours. Sir, his science officer replied with growing panic. Their weapons operate on principles we abandoned long ago. Our shields are calibrated for energy weapons, not nuclear explosions. Our hulls are designed to be lightweight and flexible, not to withstand ramming attacks. The Baekdu spun around for another attack run, its nuclear pulse drive firing in rapid bursts. Each explosion pushed the ship in a new direction, making it almost impossible for the aliens to target. The ancient vessel's movements were crude but unpredictable, guided by human instincts rather than computer calculations. Fire the kinetic cannons, Hyun-woo ordered. Solid tungsten slugs shot out from the Baekdu's weapons at tremendous speed. The alien ship's energy shields, designed to stop sophisticated missiles and plasma beams, offered no protection against simple chunks of metal moving at incredible velocity. Hull plates cracked and systems failed as the primitive projectiles punched through advanced armor like paper. One by one, the alien ships began to retreat. Their crews, trained to fight technological equals, had no idea how to combat a vessel that fought like their ancestors from thousands of years ago. The Baekdu continued its rampage, using 400-year-old weapons to defeat the galaxy's most advanced fleet. Retreat, Vexthal finally ordered, his pride shattered. All ships, withdraw to hyperspace. As the alien fleet fled in confusion and defeat, the Baekdu floated alone in space, its ancient hull scarred but intact. Admiral Hyun-woo smiled as he watched the most powerful armada in the galaxy running away from Earth's oldest starship. Grand Admiral Vexthal sat in his damaged command chair, watching the stars blur past as his remaining ships fled through hyperspace. Of his 100 vessels, only 37 had escaped the battle. The rest floated dead in space around Earth's solar system, defeated by a single primitive human ship that should have been destroyed in seconds. His communication officer looked up with trembling hands. Admiral, Hegemony Command is requesting a full battle report. Vexthal closed his 4 eyes, knowing his military career was over. How could he explain that the galaxy's most advanced fleet had been beaten by a museum piece? He activated the transmission to the Hegemony's capital world, where the High Council waited for news of another easy victory. This is Admiral Vexthal, he began, his voice heavy with shame. The Sol system operation has failed. We have been defeated by the humans. Silence filled the communication channel for several long moments. Finally, Supreme Commander Zefkar's voice crackled through the speakers. Defeated? By primitives? Who barely understand space travel. Explain yourself, Admiral. They used a single ship against our entire squadron, Vexthul said slowly. An ancient vessel from their early space age. It was armed with nuclear weapons and solid projectiles, powered by atomic explosions. Our shields and weapons were useless against such primitive technology. You're telling me that our quantum disruptors and energy shields were defeated by nuclear missiles? Zefkar's voice rose in disbelief. Yes, Supreme Commander. The humans turned their oldest technology into a weapon we couldn't counter. Their ship rammed our vessels, used close-range nuclear attacks, and fought like nothing we've ever encountered. We were prepared to fight an advanced enemy, not this. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving Vexthul alone with his failure. Within hours, news of the defeat spread across the hegemony's communication networks. The story seemed impossible, but the evidence was undeniable. Earth's primitive humans had sent the galaxy's strongest fleet running with a 400-year-old starship. Back in Earth's solar system, Admiral Park Hyunwoo stood on the bridge of the Baekdu, watching recovery teams collect debris from the alien ships. The ancient vessel had taken damage during the battle, but its thick steel hull and simple systems had proved incredibly tough. Chief Engineer Choi Minho was already working on repairs, using techniques that were older than some civilizations. Admiral, Communications Officer Han Ji-woo called out excitedly, "We're receiving messages from all over the galaxy. Word of our victory is spreading." Hyunwoo walked over to the communication station, where Ji-woo was monitoring dozens of different signals. The messages were coming from species that had been conquered by the Zephyrian hegemony, worlds that had given up hope of ever being free. "What are they saying?" Hyunwoo asked. "They want to know how we did it, sir. They're asking for technical details about our weapons and tactics. Some are requesting alliance agreements. Others are just thanking us." On the main screen, a holographic image appeared of a reptilian creature with large eyes and scaled skin. "Greetings, humans of Earth," the alien said in broken but understandable speech. "I am Ambassador Kreltai of the Verdian Republic. We have been slaves of the hegemony for 50 years. Your victory gives us hope that freedom is possible." More messages followed from across the galaxy. The Crystalline Collective, the Nomad Fleets, the Iron Worlds Alliance. All species that had suffered under hegemony rule were reaching out to Earth. The humans had done something that seemed impossible. They had beaten the unbeatable enemy using weapons that everyone thought were obsolete. Captain Lee So-young joined Hyunwoo at the communication station. "Sir, Earth Command is ordering us to return home immediately. They want to study what we did and prepare for possible retaliation." But Hyunwoo was reading another message, this one from a group of human engineers on a distant mining colony. "Admiral, we've been working on some old ship designs based on your victory. If primitive technology worked once, maybe we should build more ships like the Baekdu." The idea spread quickly through human space. Within weeks, shipyards that had been building sleek fusion cruisers were retooling to construct blocky, heavily armored vessels powered by nuclear pulse drives. Earth's military leaders realized they had discovered something important. Sometimes the oldest solutions were the best ones. 6 months later, Admiral Hyunwoo stood on the bridge of the rebuilt Baekdu, now flagship of Earth's primitive fleet. The ship had been lovingly restored and upgraded, but not with the latest technology. Instead, engineers had improved the original designs, making the nuclear pulse drive more efficient and the steel armor even stronger. "Admiral," Navigation Officer Yoon Seojin reported, "we're receiving a distress call from the Verdian system. Hegemony forces are attacking the rebels there." Yunwoo smiled as he looked out at his fleet. 12 ships built like the Baekdu floated, in formation around his flagship, each one crewed by humans who understood that simple, reliable technology could beat sophisticated systems. Other species had started building similar vessels, copying Earth's designs and adding their own improvements. "Set course for Verdian space," he ordered. "It's time to show the galaxy that the age of the hegemony is over." As the primitive fleet jumped into hyperspace carrying 400-year-old weapons toward their next battle. The legend of Earth's oldest ship continued to grow. Across the galaxy, oppressed worlds whispered stories of the humans who had turned museum pieces into instruments of liberation, proving that sometimes the most powerful weapon was simply refusing to give up. The Baekdu had become more than just a ship. It was a symbol that even the mightiest empire could fall to determination, ingenuity, and the courage to fight with whatever tools were available.